What's up, y'all? It's your girl Shay Renee, and today we are going to talk about Sistas season 5, episode 4. And can I tell you something? I'm sick of the filler episodes, Tyler Perry. I'm sick of them. Okay, let's get into it, shall we?
Can't ball in a life, man. Go on with it, go on with it. Do us. So we are coming with a force. Yes, blessing the reap and we coursing on.
All right, y'all. So I apologize in advance for the sound. I can't use my mic tonight because my husband decides he wants to. First of all, my phone died, so I had to have a charge on it. Second of all, my husband is sitting in the living room, so I don't know why he want to use the living room instead of his man cave or his office to watch TV. But whatever. I gotta be in my office. All right, moving on. So y'all, for this episode, Fatima starts off with Fatima still being mad at Zach. She still is like reeling about him saying Karen's name and potentially calling her Karen or whatever. Not potentially, but he did. He called her Karen, and he goes on to reassure her that, listen, I am not in love with Karen. I'm not thinking about her. It's just you keep on bringing her up. So it's like, yeah, I said her name. Like I was with her for 3 years. Like I said her name. Like you're constantly bringing her up. It's a toxic relationship that I used to be in. Like I'm trying to let it go, but you continue to bring her up. And you know what? In this moment, Fatima represents when we females, we're in relationships. We see that when the old chick, we see them and it's a feel, felt, found type of situation where you know who she is and all this, that, and the third. We allow that to cloud our vision too much. You got to stop worrying about other chicks and worry about yourself. Okay. And I think that Fatima is still she gets on Zach for being traumatized about his previous relationship, which gets him riled up every time somebody talks about Karen. But she doesn't acknowledge the fact that she also gets riled up when she thinks that Zach is doing something to her or he resembles behavior of her ex. So what if Zach was like, every time you want to run away or you want to say, I can't do this or whatever, I'm saying, I'm coming out and saying you are in love with your ex. That's why you're acting like that. No, both of them have experienced traumatic situations from people that they previously were in relationships with. So I think that that's all this should be chopped up to. I think that Fatima is holding on to this stuff where it comes to Karen like a bit too much. And I think she needs to just let it go. If you're going to be in a relationship with Zach, knowing what's going on, knowing that he potentially has a baby coming, all these different things, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. You got to move on. And you can't let the stuff that Karen does excite you like this, like get you all upset. Because she got so upset, she pulling the gangster out. And Zach is like, listen, stop acting like that. Like every time we have a disagreement, you want to act like you're going to put your hands on me or something. And that's toxic. That's very toxic behavior. Fatima needs to learn how to control herself because at the end of the day, she's a grown ass woman. And every time you get mad, now you want to fight somebody or you want to fuck some shit up. Like, girl, grow up. Please grow up. Okay. And you got to stop trying to play, mobster gangster with your man. Like you're trying to minimize Zach and his manhood by constantly always trying to do this little unnecessary childish stuff. Frankly, she needs to. Fatima, I love Fatima. I love the character, but I feel like she's out of control. Like, nobody really acts like that. Like women, I feel like for the most part, most of the women that I know, they know how to handle their behavior. Like, I just don't know where Tyler Perry thinks these characters up because some of them are just not realistic. But anyway, in the next scene, Q is still at the house. He got some woman there, parading around the apartment, and he got the chick doing the walk of shame out of his rented that he ain't paying for a room. He up in Maurice's room enjoying all of the amenities, and then comes out to Calvin bragging that he got Maurice locked up and he ain't leaving, he ain't doing nothing, he gonna stay there rent free. I'm like, Q, let's talk about this for a second. You gonna live here rent free, right? Yes, Maurice, we know Maurice is in jail right now. Okay. But if you don't pay rent, there is a thing called eviction. Yeah. So if Calvin decides that he don't want to pay all of the rent, you will be getting up out of here. You will have your black ass outside on the bench again. Okay. So I don't know what you, I hope that you're giving up the D so good that one of these bras let you slide up on their couch, because you won't be staying in here at least after 30 days if you ain't paying no rent. And if Calvin know what I know, I wouldn't pay the rent. And let's see where you live now. Okay, so you think you're slick. You think you really did something, but the courts can't force Maurice to pay rent, and he's not working. They can't force Calvin to pay the rent because by your own admission, Calvin's not on the lease, and neither are you. So technically, okay, because I work with property management very closely. So if they were to call them and let them know that this man is locked up, you would have to get your ass up out of there. Uh-huh. Yeah, you would have to get the hell up on out of there. So you might want to shut your mouth. Okay. You might want to shut your mouth and zip your pants up until you find somebody else that you can dick down and dick over. Okay. Moving on. So Calvin is pissed. And Maurice is, I mean, and Q is like, so what you gonna do? You gonna hit me? Because your hits are soft and this, that, and the third. So he leaves out because he has to, a part of him being free is he has to have a job. So he goes to wherever he's supposed to be working at this point. We don't know yet. So Calvin goes into his room, and then he has some young kid. It looked like some young man where he's a locksmith. So he's going to come and change the locks. So he going to lock Q out the house and see how he do that. But I'm like, this man is a robber. He probably going to come through the window. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but he will find a way back up in here. I'm pretty sure. But moving on, which that whole scene was a waste of time. I feel like we, again, in this episode, we wasted a lot of time on things that don't mean anything. Okay. Just like this scene with Deja. Deja is in the locker room bragging that she's gonna, have her rent paid because obviously she gonna F Zach or whatever. Because when Fatima left Zach, because she was pissed off at him, Deja, I forgot to tell y'all, Deja comes over and she's flirting and she's doing everything that Fatima told Zach that she was going to do in Zatima. Fatima told him that she's going to do the flirty stuff. She's not going to have her rent, and she's going to be trying to do tricks to make it a trade for her rent. And Zach is not, that's not what he's into. So it's not going to work for her. And here's the thing, depending on the laws there, I know in Maryland, you don't pay your rent after 30 days, they have the right to put your tail out. Okay. So she can go ahead and not pay her rent all she wants to and keep on paying her late. And then if you pay your late repetitively, you pay your rent repetitively late, the landlord also has the right to kick your tail out too. So I don't know. I would let Deja kind of make her own bed and lay in it at that point. But moving on. So she trying to do tricks for the trade, and Zach ain't falling for it because number one, he already in the hot seat with Fatima, and two, he ain't falling for it. So she's in the locker room bragging to her little friends that she had just introduced to Zach, saying, "Yeah, girl, because this what I'm gonna be doing. I ain't got my rent, but I'm gonna go ahead and get that D or whatever." So Fatima said, "You gonna do what? Say what? Say huh? I I thought a broke lazy bitch said something. You gonna do what? Okay, let me see if I'm gonna break them legs because you won't be wrapping it around nobody's pole or my man." Okay. So then Fatima slams her hand into the locker, and I'm like, girl, not the hand that she gotta grip that pole with, sis. Okay. So she moves on. She's in there basically pulverizing Deja. And Zach just kind of, he knows his woman. So he makes a clean break for it to get into the woman's locker room. So he comes in there and stops the commotion. Then he's like, Deja, are you okay? First of all, for me, Zach, I feel like you were checking on her a little too long. You know that Fatima is mad at you. And even in that situation out on the gym room floor, when she was flirting with you, as soon as she would have came over to me, I would have been running in the other direction. It would have been very clear that I was running away from her and not trying to be dealing with her. Like, I think Zach puts himself in these situations because he is very gullible. Like, it's giving very green like grass. Like, you're very green, Zach, and you got to work on that because you're gonna get your ass whooped by Fatima if you keep on playing. So moving on, Fatima basically warned Sis to stop playing with her. But I'm like, Fatima, you warned her like in Zatima like 5 times. Like, um, I don't know how gangster you are, but it's apparently not scaring Deja. Because Deja is like the Energizer Bunny. She keeps going and going and going to try to get your man to D. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, um, Zach ends up leaving because Fatima is like, if you don't bring your ASS on up out of here, come on here. I know y'all like, why you spelled out ASS and you done said all these cuss words? Because y'all, the monetization been acting crazy for the, I don't know if it's the curse words or what, but I'm trying to balance it out, okay? So the next scene, Pam comes to Karen's house to check on her, and she opens the door with a key. I'm like, well, damn, how many people got keys to Karen's damn house? So her mama lets Pam go in the room, and she tells her, listen, don't stress her out. So Pam goes in there. She brings like the pillows and blankets that Lisa, Karen's mom, had told her to take in there. So Karen is asking for the download on what happened and if she in fact told Aaron that she was at the hospital. And Pam was like, no, my lips are sealed. I didn't tell him anything. She was like, but you know what? Did that doctor, doesn't he know a doctor at the hospital? Maybe the doctor that he knows at the hospital told him. And Karen was like, oh my God, you're right. She probably did. And I done sat up there in her head. She's like, oh my God. And I done cussed Fatima out and she didn't say nothing. So then they start talking about ordering products and and whatnots the um for the salon, which this whole scene could have been done even faster too. Like, I feel like it was a waste of airtime. But moving on. So Karen's mom in the next scene, she calls Aaron and tells him to be over at her house by 8. And then she reveals to him that she's also going to be inviting Zach over. So he's like, are you sure that's a good idea? Because Zach really stresses Karen out and I really don't want him to stress her out. And Lisa's like, I got this. It's going to be good. So then she calls Zach and tells Zach that he need to come over too. And Zach is like, I ain't coming over there. My girl already mad at me. I ain't fooling with it. So Lisa is like, you better get your ass up over here, okay? And bring your girlfriend too. So Zach is like, I don't think my girl gonna come, but I'll talk to her about it and I'll see how she feels about me coming. So Zach says after he talks to Fatima, he'll figure out whether he gonna make his way to ease on down the road to Karen's house. So in the next scene, Andy is in the office and Danny calls her to tell her that Calvin has offered $20,000 to put towards Sabrina's bail. And she asks if Andy has talked to Robin yet. And Andy says, well, he's in a meeting, so I'll figure out some time to talk to him. So then so they hang up and whatnot. So I'm like, that whole scene was ridiculous too. Like, I feel like they kept on alluding to Robin being in the office because then they want to bring up the fact that he's in the office with Gary. And I'm like, if the doors are as clear as Andy's is and Fatima's, you can see who was in Robin's office. Okay. Even if you got a corner office, if you got a glass door, you can see who was in there. And apparently Gary was in there for most of the damn episode, but they going around Robin's bin and going down the Golden Gate Bridge to tell us that. Okay. Child, this whole episode could have been trashed for me. Like, we got absolutely nowhere. We already knew that the doctor was probably the one that told Aaron. And my thing is, you could have went on and revealed that who the baby daddy is, because the doctor probably already told Aaron that he's the baby's daddy. We could have at least closed that chapter. But anyway, moving on. Now we see Q at the airport, which who gives a damn? He's at the airport. Danny obviously doesn't know that he's the one that's the center of all the stuff with Sabrina and Maurice. He tries to make small talk with her. Danny ain't taking the bait. She tells him to get the hell on. Then the guy that was at the airport with his wife, where the wife cussed her out and all this, that, and the third, he comes off the plane. How convenient. And so he's flirting with Danny and tells her to call him. I'm like, girl, another toxic situation for you. So then Calvin calls Danny and asks her, "Hey, have you heard anything?" And Danny's like, "No, I haven't heard anything yet. I told you I will call you if I hear anything." He's like, "I'm just worried. Like, I really want to get her out." And she's like, "You really love her, don't you?" Another wasted line. We know Calvin loves Sabrina. It's no way that somebody that don't love somebody is going to offer $20,000 to get them out of jail, and you literally are somebody's roommate in an apartment. Like, that's probably the last of his life savings, and he offering it up for this woman. So he loves her clearly. So back at the office, Fatima's in her office meditating and doing the Nam Yarengekyo. And Andy comes in and she asks what's she doing and why she in here needing to center her damn self. So she spills the beans and tells her everything that is Karen, that is basically pissing her off. Zach then called her Karen's name. Karen called and cussed her out, and she really just trying to, center the gangster that lives inside of her, so she don't go and do some things to Karen that she might regret later, or maybe not regret. So Andy is like, "Yeah, you definitely don't need to be going and doing anything to her." She's like, "But I don't know why Karen is doing that. Like, why is Karen calling you and cussing you out? I know she's been really stressed lately, but dang, that's crazy." So then Andy says, can't. Fatima says she thinks that Zach is still in love with Karen, and Andy says, "Girl, that is definitely the furthest from the truth." She's like, "I can tell you, I guarantee you, that Zach is not in love with Karen. That was a trauma bond that they had for years. Now you got to understand they were together for 3 years, so it's going to take time for you to understand that that's over. Like, Karen is still dealing with things on her side, but I guarantee you Zach is not in love with that woman. Anybody that has eyes can see that he loves you." And Fatima was like, "Well, hopefully I can figure that out sooner than later. Like, I can feel it, because right now I just don't know why I just don't feel like that's the case." So that he's over Karen. So Andy is like, yeah, but what about that Berkshire or whatever she said, something file?" She was like, "You are still at work. So I'm gonna need you to go get ahead and get me that folder real quick." So Fatima was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. All right, thanks, Andy." So Andy walks out the office. So Andy goes into her office and Karen calls her. So basically, like, she in high school sneaking on the phone, calling Andy to see what she doing. She's like, "Listen, I I know I haven't talked to you, but here's the download on me. I'm stressed. I lost some blood. The baby is okay. I'm good, but I gotta be on bed rest." So she basically tells Andy everything that's going on with her. And then she's like, "Well, what's going on with you, girl? Like, I need some info. Like, my mama won't let me be on the phone. I got to be sneaking on the phone to call you, child, because she don't want me to be stressed out. But I need some type of communicator with somebody." So Andy is like, "No, everything's good. I'm all good," or whatever. Like, because I guess she don't want to stress Karen out at this point. So Karen tells her about the letters that she has to write and do all this stuff where it comes to Zach and Aaron. And oh no, she doesn't. She asks what's going on. Andy, they go back and forth. So they basically small talking at this point. And Andy says that her and the girls will come over when her mom, Lisa, says it's okay. They get off the phone and Andy calls Danny, basically gives her the download on what's going on with Karen, basically prompts her to not call. Like, if you call Karen, check on her, but don't tell her what's going on with Sabrina, because she cannot be stressed out. So Danny is like, "Okay, cool, I got you." So in the next scene, Lisa comes in to check on Karen and told her that she heard her sneaking on the damn phone. She ain't stupid, but also asked her where she at in her process with getting those letters done. Because, by the way, Zach and Aaron are coming over tonight at 8 o'clock. And also, as a bonus, I also asked Zach to bring Fatima. So Karen is like, "Ugh, why did you do that? Like, that's going to really stress me out, because I done cussed this daggone girl out, because I thought that she was the one that called Aaron and told him that I was at the hospital, but come to find out, she didn't." And her mama was like, "Well, riddle me this, Batman. Even if she did call you to tell you, if she did call Aaron and tell him that you were in the hospital, what's it to you? Like, why does it matter?" And Karen was like, "Yeah, you're right. I just want to be mad at her." And I'm like, "Girl, you might not want to be bucking up at the wrong damn person. Like, all this attitude that you got inside of you, you need to go ahead. I don't know if you need to go to one of them little rooms where you can snatch and break shit up or whatever, but you need to get your life together, because all of this rage that's inside of you, it ain't happening like that quick with a baby. You barely got a centipede size of a baby inside of your body right at this point. So, girl, girl, But moving on, she basically tells Lisa tells her get to getting on them letters because Dingleberry 1 and 2 gonna be here. That could possibly be your baby daddy later on. So we got to get to the bottom of this. So she's like, okay, well let me get on to finishing these letters. So Zach calls Fatima and he tells her, listen, I'm at the reception area. I need to talk to you. And Fatima was like, what are you doing here? She's like, okay, well, meet me in the break room. So they go in the break room and Zach is pretty much talking to her and telling her how much he loves her. He's not in love with Karen anymore and he doesn't know what he can do to prove that, but he ain't thinking about Karen. And so she's like, it's just hard because it's just so much. It's like she got to constantly go through so much where it comes to him. But he also reveals to her, like, you can't be acting all crazy every time something happens. Like, this is just this too much. Okay. So he reassures her that he loves her and he's going to do whatever he can in his power to prove that to her. And she's like, okay, whatever. So he tries to break down her wall. Then she built the wall back up because now he got to ask her about going over Karen's house. So he reveals to her that Aaron is coming over to Karen's house as well, and also Miss Lisa wants her to come. And Fatima was like, I know you fucking lying. I will not be going over Karen's house because I'm gonna end up whooping that bitch ass. But please be clear. You go over there and you better clear this stuff up. Like you better let her know that we're not about to be playing these games and she better stop playing with me because she don't want me to show her what it really be like and what it do. Okay? So you better talk to her and tell her to stop getting knuck if you buck with me because I ain't got time. Okay? So Zach says, I'm gonna go over there, but only with your blessing. And she says, no, it's okay. Go ahead on over there, but you better check her. You better handle that. So Zach is gonna go over there. In the last scene, Hayden comes into Andy's. So as Zach and Fatima are walking out of the break room, Hayden sees them and he's like, y'all keep on coming up in here, and I got a daggone restraining order on this guy. And Fatima was like, you might want to check on that restraining order. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might want to check on that. And Hayden looking like a deer in headlights, like, what is she talking about? So he goes into Andy's office and he's like, so your girl just had Zach up in here. Like, y'all think this is funny? Like, the hell? And Andy was like, oh yeah, so you don't know. Do you read your handbook? And he's like, what you talking about? He looking like a deer in the headlights. She's like, yeah, well, Zach's my client and in section blah blah blah, you can't bar clients from the office. So there's that. Your little restraining order is voided when it comes to him coming in here. So Hayden's like, oh, so okay. So you trying to be dirty. So have you gone into your boy's office? You might want to go in Robin's office and see what's going on. Cause I hate to see what they're in there talking about where it comes to you. And Andy's looking confused, like, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, did somebody beat you up as a child? Were you bullied? Like, what is your freaking problem? Like, why are you so pressed and upset over everything? Like, why? Why are you so childish? And he's like, well, I'm not childish. And, basically defending his position. Hayden is probably the most useless character, him and Q. Actually, Hayden, he has a purpose, but Q is definitely useless. It's so many useless characters on this show at this point. I don't even know what to do. But anyway, Hayden and Andy go back and forth, back and forth. He's trying to get her all riled up to go and see who's in this office. Fatima comes in the office and basically tells Hayden to get the hell on out of Andy's office. And then she says, Andy, yeah, you know Gary and Robin's office, right? So I'm like, it only took 60 minutes for us to find out that Gary was in Robin's office. Because Danny kept on calling, pressing Andy to go over and talk to Robin. Like Andy acting all scared. I'm like, girl, you had a threesome with this man. You done been humping and sitting on his dick and rotating several episodes. You should not have the problem with walking up in this man's office because he sure don't have a problem with walking up in your office and tearing your drawers off. Okay. So what is your issue? You scared because you want to be back with Gary? Is that what it is? You want to be with Gary and you don't know how to let Robin down easy because he owns the company where you work at? You should have known that you shouldn't have been messing with him anyway because he owns your career at this point. Not to mention, you need him every 5 minutes to help you with the stupid stuff your friends are doing. I'm gonna need Tyler Perry to fix Andy, Karen, and Sabrina's characters because number one, where is Sabrina and Maurice? We haven't seen them in 4 episodes. I need to see Sabrina and Maurice. We haven't seen Maurice since the season started. Like, and that confession was so whack. There is no court of law that will hear what Maurice said and accept that as an admission of somebody robbing a bank. And mind you, Q would never get off scot-free like that because it's that age-old saying, like my mama said, I don't care if your friends tell you to jump off a bridge, you're going to do it. Because guess what? When you do it, you still going to die. Okay? So if Maurice did tell him to go and rob a bank, the fact of the matter is you did it. It's not like he said, if you don't do this, if you don't do it, I'm gonna kill you. That's not what he said on the confession. And then he said, yeah, me and Sabrina did it all. But they really physically didn't rob the bank. You did. So all of that is just, it's as my father-in-law says, it's a movie. It's a movie. But I need it to make sense though. This is a bunch of buffoonery. And where is the man that Sabrina was dating? Has he been looking for her? Is he a part of some human trafficking deal? And how is Q working at the airport with a felony? Because I'm pretty sure he has felonies on his record. It's so much. And where is Preston? Where he at? This whole episode has so many things going on in it that were so irrelevant. Like it wasted so much screen time. Tyler, sit down. I need you to go on a sabbatical. Okay. I know you got a kid and you in a relationship and stuff, but you need to go on a like 3-week sabbatical. Okay. And I'm gonna need you to get all the stories in your head together, not together apart. Okay. I need you to get them all together. And I think you need to make them all make sense. You need to fix Sisters to make sense like Zatima makes sense. Every episode of Zatima was entertaining. Why? Because we solved something every episode, right? There was a build-up and then a solve. There was a build-up and then a solve situation. And we didn't take 5 seasons to get there. We still trying to resolve Gary and Andy after 5 seasons. Sabrina still and Calvin are still in limbo after 5 seasons. Danny is still some wayward hippie that don't know what she want to do with her vagina and who she want to be with. 5 seasons. And Karen has evolved into this angry chick. For 3 seasons, she was Sage. The last 2 seasons, she been the angry black woman. And still don't know who her baby daddy is for 2 seasons. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, this is going to become problematic. It screams viewers being lost because now we're getting lost in the foolishness. It's the story is just not a story anymore. It's not compelling, if you will. It's not. Like you wanted to do the cliffhanger at the end to keep us watching next week of Gary and Robin being in the office, but that cliffhanger at this point is not exciting to me because now it actually pisses me off because now I'm thinking here's another thing that's never going to get resolved. That's going to take 3 seasons for us to we're just adding it to the list of shit that's never going to get resolved. So that's why I don't even get excited. Because they're going to be in the office talking. Robin is probably not going to find out that him and Gary and Andy are still sleeping together for another 5 episodes. And it's going to just piss me off. I don't know, y'all. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with this show. I really do. Like I'm trying to hang on for dear life, but it's just taking me here and taking me there and not in a good way. Okay. It's really every week I contemplate why I still hit play. And I don't want to think like that when I'm watching a show. I want to actually enjoy a show every week. And this show, where I used to anticipate watching it, now it's getting to the point where it's like, why? Why? Because nothing's going to be resolved. We're never going to get any resolution from any of these stories. I'll just wait for season 2 of Zatima to come on and pray that it doesn't go the way of Sistas. Okay. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all for watching. Please, please, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with anybody else that's watching Sistas too. And make sure that you hit the notification bell so you will know when I come back on. And I'm going to leave you with this promo. Order your Healthy Expression t-shirts, y'all. Bye-bye now. Peace out.
Y'all ever want to just say it with your chest without saying it with your words? Well, here's your chance to do it. Click the link below or visit www.shayrenee.net and pick the design that fits what you have to say today.